Hi, welcome to Mayor's Roundtable. I'm your mayor, Tony Strickland, mayor of Huntington Beach, Surf City, USA. And today we have an unbelievable special guest, someone who's been active in public service for quite some time. I've known her for a long period of time. She does remarkable work for us here in Huntington Beach. It's our State Senator Janet Nguyen. Janet, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Mayor, for having me. Really appreciate it.
So we've known each other a long time.
Have.
And I remember when you were first starting out, way back when I was a young, new assemblyman, and you were a staff member. And I still remember when you decided to run, not just as a staff, but you started to run for the Board of Supervisors, and you won a race by like 4 votes. But we go way back, and you've done a remarkable job. You have a remarkable career. I want the residents and the audience to know kind of your background, how you got the passion to serve, because you've been such a great public servant now. What is it about, 16 years?
Almost 20.
Almost 20, time flies. So maybe the audience can, a little bit about your background and kind of what it's in your heart and your passion that you have for public service.
No, and I appreciate that. Yeah, we've known each other for a long time, and really appreciate your leadership, not just in Huntington Beach, but statewide for over several decades now, and the leading charge in California. So we, really appreciate the friendship and also the mentorship as well. So my background, as you know, I live in Huntington Beach. My 2 boys go both to the public schools. I've got a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. We've always been attached to Huntington Beach. Both my boys went to preschool in Huntington Beach, starting at 3 months and 6 months at the Huntington Valley Boys and Girls Club. Mm-hmm. So we are a big fan of Huntington Valley Boys and Girls Club, and but just a little bit background how I started. So as you know, my family's from Vietnam, where we were the boat people. My father and my dad and my uncles both served in the South Vietnam Army, fighting alongside American soldiers during the Vietnam War. My uncle was an officer who was executed days before Saigon fell. And so after the fall of Saigon, they were seeking all military service members, men, who's from the South Vietnam Army, to go into re-education camp. Of course, for us, we knew that was more of a concentration camp. And so at that moment, our parents' decision was to leave the country, so they can give a future for our family, the 3 of us children. So we escaped, we got to Thailand. We were fortunate, we were sponsored by a church group in the early 80s, mm-hmm. and came to California lived in San Bernardino County. Mm-hmm. And of course, coming to this country as a refugee, didn't speak English. We were on government programs, mm-hmm. Whether it was welfare, food stamp. I mean, those are the programs that helped families like mine to be able to start a new life. Mm-hmm. And at 10 years old, I was cleaning houses, just trying to get some extra money for school clothes and supplies. Mm-hmm. We did a little better. We moved to Orange County, and I started freshman at Garden Grove High School.
Wow.
And so we, in my family, we had 3 career choices: doctor, lawyer, or engineer. So
You're way off.
Very way off. I went to the black hole side of it.
Yeah.
I headed to UC Irvine, wanted to study biology. Mm-hmm. I at the time, to be an obstetrician, a gynecologist. Mm-hmm. So my second year in college, I took a community political class. The class was taught by then Chairman of the Orange County Board of Supervisors, Bill Steiner.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know what the supervisor, I was working 3 jobs. I was a waitress over at Coco's across from Disneyland. I was a gift wrapper, actually the gift wrapper at Robinson May, which is now Macy. And back then, the gift wrappers are the one who leaves the store last, because all the money comes into us, because that's where the safe is. Mm-hmm. And then I was also an assistant manager at one of the Edwards movie theater.
Wow.
And so I was working 3 jobs, going to school full time, and I took this class, and Supervisor Steiner, Chairman Steiner, said, things I learned from him, and I thought to myself, he sounds important. Maybe a recommendation letter from him for med school might help my application. Mm-hmm. So I asked to intern, mm-hmm. volunteer. 5 hours became 10, 10 became 20, became staff. 10 years later, I came back as an elected county supervisor in the 1st district. And one of the reasons why I've realized and wanted to get in politics is that if you think about it, Mayor, everything we do, us doing the interview, the air we breathe, the car, the clothes we wear, it's all governed by government, whether we like it or not. Mm-hmm. And so I want to be at the table when laws are created for or against someone like me. I want to be there to say, wait a minute, when you do X, this is how it's going to affect these people. Whether that's the perspective of a taxpayer, business owner, a mom, a wife, a woman, a refugee, whatever it is, I want to be there and say, wait a minute, don't. And so that started my journey. I've been worked in the public sector for over 20 years, have been in office though for 20 years.
What was it like to tell your parents? Because you had 3 options.
I did.
And then you had to tell your parents, okay, you had these 3 options for me. I had this great class with a guy who was a board of supervisor named Steiner. I'm looking here. What was that conversation like?
It was not fun. My parents, they basically said, I go, well, I'm going to do this. And they go, wait a minute. We escaped government. Now you want to be one of them. And so
that's a far different perspective from what your parents. I mean, because you had a government that was violating every right that they had, and they looked at the government as something evil.
They are.
And they were evil there. And now you're saying that, hey, I want to be part of government. So what was that conversation like? Did they understand it by the end?
No, it took years. So for them is that, in Vietnam, the stories we were told during that time is that if the communist government shows, or, military or whatever shows up to your restaurant, they come in and they eat. They don't pay you. You pay them to eat your food.
Oh my gosh.
They you sit where they tell you to sit. You get to have the business if they allow you to have the business. All those who were in the South Vietnam military have all lost their properties and their houses. Even to today in Vietnam, children of former Republic of Vietnam military are not allowed to be educated nor allowed to work in any government jobs.
Wow.
So they are left out there and not allowed to do anything that's part of it because they don't want any of those children to ever be successful. And so in a government regime, that's what you have, and they don't trust there's no such thing as a bank. Everything is controlled by the government, whether it's media, whether it's the bank, whether you want to open a business or not, and how you can be successful or not, is run by the communist government. And so my parents' perspective is like, wait a minute, we escaped that. We don't want to, what are you thinking? So it took me years to actually get them to understand the government in America is different, is that we are for the people. It's by the people, for the people. And so, it's great to see, when we had, former President George W. Bush, John McCain, all those individuals coming into the area in Westminster Garden Grove, my parents were out there. They were helping out and, volunteering, putting up signs and stuff for them. And so I got them to understand what government is like in America versus what it was home. And so very supportive. Unfortunately, though, on election day when I ran for city council in 2004, that morning, I got a phone call. My dad passed away at the hospital at like 5 a.m. And so that election day was it was bittersweet. It was more like everybody's congratulating because it was my first run for election and I won, came in first place out of 9 candidates. And, no one knew that our dad just passed away that morning. And so it was very difficult, but that's where we always know that he's always watching out for us in every election.
And I'm sure he's unbelievably proud looking in heaven. Like I not to get emotional, but my dad is my hero in my life. He's served in Korea and Vietnam, and he just died. His birthday was just the day before yesterday, but he's been passed away now for 2 years, and I think he'd be very proud. He saw me in the Assembly and Senate, but he'd be very proud that I became mayor of Huntington Beach. And I know how heart-wrenching that is, but he is looking above, and I guarantee he's very proud because when we vote, we are bringing our life experiences. I always say, when the legislature, you get 120 different individuals. Here on the city council, you've been on both local and state, but we all bring our life experiences to our viewpoint, and you have been an unbelievable champion for government overreach, is what I call it, because you do have that experience and from your life experience to know what government overreach becomes. And so I want to thank you because you have done this now for You said 20 years. I can't believe it's been that long.
know.
But you've served, so you won that council race.
I won the council
And I
race.
know, because I backed you for that really contentious supervisorial race. And then you served on the Board of Supervisors and now the state. But let me go back to that just really briefly. Those of you that don't think that every vote counts, and as we always say, every vote counts, but tell us how close that race was.
Yeah, so I ran for city council in 2004, ran for county board of supervisors in 2007. Election night, I won by 54 votes. The next day, I lost by 7. The following week, I asked for a recount. I won by 7. And then my opponent sued us to court. 30 days later, we won by 3 votes. 1, 2, 3.
That's your family.
That's why
Your
I
family
have
put
2
you on the
boys.
top. Yep.
That's why I have 2 boys. Now we can guarantee 4 votes once they reach 18. But no, it's that's why I tell people every vote does matter. I mean, literally one family made it happen so that I can be where I am today.
Think about that. You won by 3 votes, and you served. Then you became a freshman supervisor, and you've had a remarkable career on the Board of Supervisors. You served 8 years, right?
I served 8 years.
So that 8-year period is because of 3 votes.
Yep.
And you're here today doing great things in the state Senate because of those 3 votes.
Yeah. And what's nice is that we went from 3 votes in that first election to my last re-election was almost 80% of the votes. In a district that is a very heavily Democratic district, that leans, I think it was 12-14% more Democratic registered voters than there are Republican, which shows is that, at the end of the day, my belief in public service is I vote for the voters for my residents and for the constituent I serve. And so we've worked very hard to making sure that we are out there. I love working on the community. As you can see today, I represent almost 20 cities, but it's very few, unless I'm in Sacramento, very few times you don't see me in Huntington Beach when you do have any events. And so that's where I think, I went from city council, county supervisor, ran for state senate, been in the Senate, then went to the state assembly, and now back in the Senate. I've been very blessed to have had such a great public service background, history that's given me the opportunity, and we've been, like I said, very blessed. It's been remarkable. I've learned everything and anything, and that's why you're absolutely right, is that I'm a believer that the closer the government is to the people, the better.
Yeah.
Because, we in Sacramento, whether Sacramento likes to hear it or not, but this, having been a former senator and assembly member as well, is that when we're up there, we're looking 30,000 feet down. So we don't know exactly everything that goes on at the city level. And so we should allow you, the mayor and the council, that opportunity to control your own destiny. We should help you and guide you and give you the parameter or, the guideline on where you can and cannot go. And so you don't overreach either. But really, at the end of the day, is local government know what's best for the people. Having been there on city council and the county supervisor, I'm very familiar with it.
And you did a remarkable job both up in Sacramento and at the local level. And I've been watching your career for a long time. So I want to focus now on maybe some of the public policy that you're working on as a state senator. You've been kind of the forefront of this fentanyl crisis that we have nationally, but you've been kind of the strongest voice up in Sacramento talking about fentanyl. And so tell us some of the things that you've been trying to pass in Sacramento and kind of where is that today?
So, as you know, fentanyl is the #1 killer today for children, for young adults from 18 to 45 in the country. And we are looking at, in California, at least 18 to 20 die per day on fentanyl or opioid overdose. And so we're talking about 114, 120 a week. So by the end of this year, there'll be about 6,000 less Californians because of it. And so we are literally watching a generation vanish before our eyes. And we shouldn't. We have every opportunity in California to do several things. One, education. We have to educate the young adults, and now it's not only young adults, it's creeping into elementary schools and middle school. I actually had to have a conversation with my 2 boys last year right before Halloween because they're now making fentanyl into looking like Skittles and Smartie candies. And so now my boys know they're not allowed to eat they're not allowed to take candies from their friends who they've known since birth when it's open. It's just that you don't know most of the people, there's not an actual number out there, it's a study, but it's known to be like 90% of those who die of fentanyl never sought for fentanyl.
Wow.
They sought for something else, whether it's a painkiller or even, most people won't die from cocaine or heroin, but if it's laced with 1 milligram of fentanyl, which is 1 grain of sand, they would die in 4 minutes. So you can go and seek for cocaine and end up dying because of fentanyl laced instead. And so one is we got to do education. Second is we not only education for the young adults and children and in the schools. So I've been doing a lot of that traveling around the district and the state talking to some of the schools. Second is educating, and actually second is to getting teachers and coaches to be trained in Narcan. Because Narcan right now is the only thing that can save an individual, but it has to be done prior to that 4 minutes. An example is in the city of Fountain Valley. They, a year ago, decided to fund $1 million for all the schools within Fountain Valley School District. Several children have been saved because of that.
Wow.
And so there's several bills right now going in from the assembly side to educate, to mandate cities, school district, sports facilities, et cetera, to have Narcan. But they also needs to be trained as well. Currently the training is not mandated there, but we have, it's passed, but they'll be looking to negotiate in the assembly side. The other part is we have to look at the drug dealers. My bill, which would have made it to give 3 years extra in jail time for those who possesses fentanyl with the intent to sell of 1 kilo. 1 kilo doesn't sound a lot, 2.2 pounds, but 2.2 pound equals to 10,000 pills. 10,000 pills kills 500,000 people. So, if someone murdered 1 or 2 individuals, that's, 3, 10, 4, that's a mass murder. We're talking about an individual who has possession of 10,000 pills that can literally kill 500,000 people. It's beyond mass murder. That bill stalled and it's now been reconsidered. But the problem with the state Senate is that we're facing is that they don't want to deal with the drug dealers. We don't know why. The Senate Democrats, the supermajority party, has decided that they don't want to put away any drug dealers. They just want to leave it alone. And so a lot of pressure's on them right now.
Wow, is this almost like the Gascon kind of philosophy that says, we're just going to let people be people and we're not holding anybody accountable? Where does that philosophy come from? Usually when I serve with someone, I try to put myself in their position, their life experiences. And, 80% of the time I can get where they're coming from based on their philosophy. But these are the kinds of things I just don't get. We're talking about protecting kids.
Yeah, no, I think it comes down to it's the criminal justice reform philosophy of let's shut down all jails and hope everybody can go rehab. You can't rehab a drug dealer. Our Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes confiscated last year 446 pounds of fentanyl, which would have killed 30 million people. California has a little close to 40 million. It would have wiped out the state of California.
Well, by the way, we're very lucky to have Sheriff Barnes.
We are.
In Orange County, we have a tremendous DA and a tremendous sheriff that we're very blessed to have them. They're tremendous leaders.
Yeah, no, Sheriff Barnes has been actually at the forefront of getting all the law enforcement, not just in Orange County, but statewide to fight against fentanyl. There's things we're doing in Orange County with the DA because we have the DA who we have. Both of them are full on helping out, fighting for the fentanyl crisis, while the rest of the state aren't.
Is there anything that our audience can do to voice support for your legislation? Maybe send messages to Governor Newsom or those senators that maybe voted no?
Yeah. And
is there a list, or can they contact your office and maybe say, hey, who do I need to contact? This is unbelievable. We want to protect kids. Yeah.
No, what I would advise is 2 things. Is one, yes, feel free to reach out to our office, and as these legislation are moving, from the assembly to us or ours over there, we need to put the pressure. We need to keep the pressure on, because if there's the number one issue right now in California, I think this is it. If you're seeing 6,000 less Californians this year, while we can actually help and control that, it's in our hands. Second is, I do want to ask all the audience, if you have young adults, you never know, and also children, you have to have this conversation. Most of the children and the young adults who have died of fentanyl are heading to Harvard, are heading to Berkeley, full scholarship, athlete, never ever done drugs in their life, never even smoked. They were stellar children and adults heading and has a full life ahead of them. And then within seconds, they were gone. Wow. I mean, that's why they say one pill kills within 4 minutes. And so this is a conversation. You might think that, oh, no, my son won't do it, my nephew won't do it, my niece won't do it. Just have that conversation. Just at least put it in their mind to remind them that, fentanyl is out there. Fentanyl has become the number one drug money-making in the state. There's hearings in the Senate where some of the sheriffs or deputy sheriffs have testified and said that the interception that they get in terms of conversation between drug dealers, they're saying California is the best place to do business for drugs. So come into California because there's no consequences. Wow. And that's what you have right now, is that a lot of it's become billions of dollars of industry in California for drug dealers. And so the only way we can stop it is to let our children and our young adults know that, hey, just in case, don't grab. I mean, if your friend's giving you a bag of candies, just double check, because you never know.
So one thing that's very unfortunate, we're almost out of time. This went by really quick. I would love to maybe bring you back, because I wanted to talk about homelessness and what you're doing in Sacramento there. Again, you're taking a lead as the strongest voice in Sacramento on so many of these issues. I want to bring you back to one of these, because this does really quick. But I thought it was important for our audience to know your background, what really is in your heart, and what you've done up until this point is just remarkable. And we're lucky here in Huntington Beach, I have to say, as mayor of Huntington Beach, to have you as our state senator, because you do great work, and you're always out in the community doing town halls, and you're at our events. And I just want to thank you, because I know your district's over 1 million people, but you make everybody here in Huntington Beach feel special. So thank you so much. And with that, I want to thank you for joining the Mayor's Roundtable. Again, my name's Tony Strickland, Mayor of Huntington Beach, Surf City, USA. Please join us next time. And let's thank again our State Senator Janet Nguyen, who does a remarkable job for us, fighting for us in Sacramento. Thank you.